Hello, everybody. How are you doing on this fine Sunday evening? It's 7 p.m. It's time for FMTV Weekly. I'm your host, Peter Brown, and as always, I am joined by everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Ed. Say hi, Ed.
How's it going, Peter Brown? Another week, but finally, man, two wins in a row.
Two
Well,
wins.
The first one.
And we're going to get to a lot. We're going to talk about the wins, and I say they are both wins, regardless of what the Twitterverse says. People saying, well, the U.S. Copa Cup game doesn't technically count as a win because it was a tie, and they won. So shut up, Twitter. And we'll talk a lot about that probably in the second half of the show. But of course, before we get to all that, we've got the wonderful Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald that will be joining us. So we're gonna jump right into it with Michelle in just a second. We will say hello to everybody in the chat after we're done with the great conversation we're gonna have. And of course, as always, you can always leave a voicemail at 786-474-4435 as well, and we'll get to those at some point. All right, and before we do all of that, let's say a big thank you to our sponsor, and that is Caneswear. This is where you need to go shopping to buy all your Inter Miami gear. Don't buy it in the stadium. It's more expensive in the stadium. Caneswear, it's a little bit cheaper. Go to Caneswear, support a local business off of University. It's just south of 595. Great guys. They're love to talk about Inter Miami or any of the local sports while you're going and picking up your new hat, shirt, or jacket, whatever you want. So go support a local business. You want to support us? Support Caneswear. All right, let's not wait any longer. As always, guys, we will monitor the chat. If you have a question for Michelle, please throw it in the chat, and we'll do that. So without further ado, let's say hi to Michelle Kaufman. How you doing, Michelle?
Good. How are you?
The studio audience loves her.
The studio audience, I love it. I'm honored to be here.
Well, thanks so much. Anytime we ask, you're always grace us with your presence. We appreciate it. You've been covering soccer in South Florida for longer than some of the people in the chat have been alive.
26 years. Since 1996, I've been here. So really, even 27 years, I guess. Yes, I covered the Miami Fusion. I covered when they announced the beginning of the Miami Fusion, when there wasn't even a fusion, when they said that they're going to have a team. I was there at that announcement, and I was at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City when they flew me up. The Miami Herald flew me up for the unveiling of the name and the logo of the Miami Fusion. And it was a really big deal. No one knew what the name of the team was. No, there was a contest to name the team. So no one knew who won the contest, and nobody knew what the colors were or what the logo was going to look like. They had a huge, event at the Waldorf Astoria in New York. So I was there for that, and I covered every minute of the Miami Fusion, the highs, the lows, when Ray was the coach, and then the unfortunate demise when they canceled the team, and then every incarnation of pro soccer in South Florida since then, I have covered. I was there when Romario was wheeled on Tropical Park in a limo. I mean, I've seen it all. So here we are now with an actual professional MLS team, with stadium drama, which is always the case, and political drama, which is always the case. But here we are.
Yeah, lots to talk about. Actually, you said stadium, and I didn't plan on starting with stadium. But I see a question in the chat here from Daniel Koner, who's asking, any news on Freedom Park? Have not heard much up north.
Yes, the latest that I heard, and I did check with some high-level sources, the latest on that is that the permits are almost done. The remediation of the land is supposed to start in late May to early June. Once that's done, then they can break ground. So there are things happening. It's just happening quietly behind the scenes.
How long do you think the remediation is going to take? That's something me and some of my buddies are arguing about. I thought I remembered hearing that it could take close to a year just in remediation. What have you heard?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think everything with construction. Has anybody here tried to do like a bathroom renovation or any kind of renovation,
Sure.
especially since COVID. You know, everything takes longer than it used to take. There's supply chain issues and personnel issues and all kinds of issues that make things even slower than they used to be. So, you know, my feeling is that it probably will be a year, because it's just everything is taking longer. If they say that they could do it in 6 to 8 months, that probably means 9 to 12 months. You know, I would
Right,
push
right.
everything back because I know that all of this remediation and shovel in the ground ceremony was already supposed to happen by this point, and here we are. We're now approaching May, and we're still, there has not been a shovel in the ground yet. So they wanted to have the stadium done for March, for the kickoff of the March of the 25 season, which is less than 2 years away now. So, I know they can work fast, but they're going to have
It's
to really work fast to get that thing done by March of 25.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. And this is not a question, but it is a funny comment from our friend in Toronto. Why remove the toxic dirt? Golfers enjoyed playing on it for years.
Yeah.
I thought that is the weirdest thing. That wait, you can have kids play golf on a toxic golf course, but you can't play soccer. I don't get it. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Uh,
Well, I think we're just gonna get it out of the way, Peter. Like we kind of did the show before the show, Michelle. Yeah, I told you there was something on Twitter. Some guy from Argentina was saying, he was a reporter from Argentina, saying that Inter Miami hadn't actually done an offer for Messi. He said the only ones that actually made an actual offer were the people from Saudi Arabia and Barcelona. And what are your thoughts about that?
Well, my thoughts are that I wouldn't believe anything that I see on Twitter from anybody unless it's Jorge Mas, Jose Mas, uh, David Beckham, or our commissioner, the commissioner of the league, Don Garber. I think these are very, very, there are very high level conversations that are going on with Lionel Messi, with his father. These conversations have been going on for a long, long time between the Mosses and David Beckham and the league. This is not really a Miami. This is not really an Inter Miami. It's not like any other acquisition. It's not like Inter Miami going out for any other player. This is a league. This is a league negotiation. This is the same as when David Beckham came to the league. This is not about Inter Miami. This is not really even about the Moss brothers. This is about for him to even consider coming here. It's not going to be money that's going to be coming from the Moss brothers and from the ticket holders of Inter Miami. We're
it's the
talking
league.
about a mega, mega, mega with three M's capital deal that is, similar to the David Beckham deal, but much more, I'm sure. And my feeling is, and from people I've spoken to, I mean, this is going to involve the league, which means it's probably going to involve Apple.
Right.
Let's face it. Apple just joined a huge contract, just signed a huge contract with MLS. The whole reason behind this contract with Apple and MLS is to spread MLS around the globe and obviously to sell Apple products, okay? But for the MLS, from the MLS standpoint, the idea of going in with Apple is that now anyone with an Apple account in Europe, in South America, in Africa, in Asia, in Australia, they can now tune in every single week and watch MLS. Now, what better way to market this league than to have Lionel Messi playing MLS for the Miami team? Every single game that he plays will be watched all over France, England, Spain, Germany, Africa, South America, Argentina, Brazil, Peru, Colombia. That is the idea. The idea is you get Messi here and broadcast his games all over the planet. And, the World Cup is coming to the United States and Mexico and Canada in a couple of years. And again, how better to market soccer in America and this league by having Lionel Messi as your spokesperson, wearing a uniform, an MLS uniform, and playing in all the MLS stadiums against the other MLS competition. So this is a deal that far, far, far transcends Inter Miami. This is not about Inter Miami making a little contract offer and sending it over by fax. This is these are high level conversations that are going on with the league. I'm sure with Apple, with, yes, the Moss brothers and David Beckham involved in those conversations, but this is not the same as one of those other teams, Barcelona and the Arab team, the Saudi team. That's a team, that's a club making an offer. This is a whole other thing. This is going to involve ownership. There's going to be an ownership part of the deal, like there was with David Beckham. We're talking about merchandising, ownership, probably academies named. I mean, it's a huge deal. So if there hasn't been officially a contract offer, that means nothing to me, because this is far beyond a regular contract offer. This is a mega business deal. And and then as far as, I just wouldn't believe, I would be very skeptical of anything that I see, because nobody is in on those conversations except people in the inner circle, 3 inners, maybe 4 inners. No reporter and no journalist is in on those conversations or knows what's going on. Guarantee you that.
Yeah, sorry about those camera angles there. I was playing around. But yeah, so and that's great advertisement for Apple too, as far as getting not just the selling the Apple season pass, MLS season pass, but just selling Apple products. I mean, getting people watching an Apple TV related thing sells all the other Apple TV shows and all that kind of stuff. So this is just Apple definitely has to be getting involved.
I know some people who had not watched Ted Lasso because they didn't have Apple TV, but then they wanted to watch MLS. So they all of a sudden decided, oh, I think I'm going to sign up for the MLS season pass. And then they said, well, now that I'm already sort of in the little Apple world with the little Apple logo, maybe I'm going to get Apple TV. And now all of a sudden they're watching Ted Lasso. They're very late to that party. But, I think that Apple is using MLS to spread its word, and MLS for sure much bigger is using Apple to spread their brand and their teams and their players around the world.
All right, and talking about the Apple thing, there is a voicemail that does come in that has a slight mention about Apple. So let's go to a voicemail.
It's time for your voicemail. Hello?
Hey, Peter and Uncle Ed, it's Italia, 1 robe, 1 goal, and all the great fans. Woohoo, we won, and then we won again. That's awesome. And just wanted to give a quick shout out from me and Diego Serna 17 to Michelle Kaufman. Everybody follow her at Kauf Sports on Twitter. She's amazing. And the Miami Herald. She's covered us all the way back since the Fusion days. And we appreciate everything she does. Plus, it's great to have, a local voice in all the coverage, because that is one of the only drawbacks with this Apple TV deal is we're not having all the local sports television networks or much Spanish coverage. So anyway, just want to say thanks for all you do, Michelle. Everybody loves you. And what do you think about renaming the Miami versus Miami, which is the Miami FC versus Inter? I still was saying Vamos Fusion by mistake. What do you think, like Peter was, what do you think about calling it El Cafecito Clásico? Love you guys. Love the show.
So she wants to know about the name.
Before I get to the name thing, I'm going to agree on the Apple thing. I think the biggest drawback is that they're not using local broadcasters, because I've watched some of the games now, the road games, and it's just random, and they're bringing different people in for every game. It's not even like they have a designated Inter Miami team of broadcasters that are going to get to know the team as the season goes on. One week it's 2 people, and then the next week it's 2 other people, and they're flying around from other cities. They really know nothing about Inter Miami. They're basically doing play-by-play. They're describing the run of action. They're describing the plays, but they have no context. And this is not a knock on them. They are not local. They don't know any of the context. They would never be able to, make a reference to Diego Serna or to El Pibe or to Ray Hudson or, anything that soccer fans down here have a long history with MLS, with the Fusion, and even from the teams from the beginning here, Lewis Morgan, and talking about Diego Alonso or talking about Gonzalo, what happened with him and what's happened with Pizarro from then to now, Robbie Robinson. You have to really know the club and know the team and all the moves from the beginning and even from before that, from the days of the Fusion and all that. And to just have two random broadcasters every week basically giving play by play, they speak to the coach for 10 minutes and get a little update like what's going on with the team. Oh, okay. And then they're giving the broadcast, but there's no local flavor to it. They don't have a sense of the fan base. They don't know about La Familia. They don't know about the different supporter groups. I really feel that a big part of soccer, a huge part of soccer is the culture of soccer. It's not just a bunch of people running around kicking the ball. There's a real culture to the fans, and they have a lot of background. They have a lot of passion. They know the history. So your broadcast team should reflect that. And, when Ray Hudson was here, and when you had Chris Whittingham, you had Ray Hudson, you had Kalen Kyle, people that knew the team and knew all the background of all the players. So if something happens or if somebody acts a certain way on the bench toward Phil, they would know, oh, this guy's had a run-in with Phil, or this guy loves Phil, or, whatever. Without any of that context, I think that the broadcasts are very vanilla. They're just not as interesting because it's just play-by-play. It's just straight play-by-play. So that's a long answer, but I agree with the caller that the biggest thing missing from the Apple broadcast is local flavor. And I'm actually going to mention that just as my own opinion to some of the people at the league that I know. Not that they've asked me my opinion, but I often give my opinion even when it's not asked for. And then as far as renaming the cafecito, that's not bad. Although I just think there are culture. There are so many cultures that follow these teams that I don't know. I don't mind a Miami Clásico. I think that's more generic. I think it's fine. It's generic, and it's sort of a good umbrella name that everybody that's a Inter Miami or Miami FC fan could relate to.
Yeah, and I think as far as the Apple TV stuff, I think there is an easy fix because they do have the ability to listen to the home radio broadcasters instead of the national broadcasters. So the easy fix is, and this may be a next season thing, maybe they can't do it in the middle of the year, but just incorporate the away broadcasters as well. So we could have our radio broadcasters probably watching it on a monitor, big deal, no problem. They do that for years. And doing a local radio broadcast that you can choose between the home or away teams. I think that's an easy fix. They've already got the technology there because we're able to flip over to the radio broadcast for the home. Just include the away. And I think that solves that.
Yeah, when I was watching the Houston game, I clicked on home. I saw, home broadcast, and I thought that meant home, like the home team that I'm dialed into, which is Inter Miami. Oh, no. That's the home team of the game that's being played. Duh. So, so I turned it on because I wasn't satisfied with the national broadcast. Right. But I turned in the home broadcast, and, it's better at least, but it definitely was a Houston home broadcast. They were very excited when Houston was doing well, and they really didn't know anything about much. They knew more than the national broadcast knew about Inter Miami, but it would, I think that would be the best fix, to have a radio, have a radio crew that do the audio with local people, and then you can choose. If you want to do the national, fine. But if you want the local flavor and the local background and the local institutional knowledge of the teams, then I would absolutely click on the local, on the home.
And it's easy because the technology's there. They just have to, I think, get the local teams to buy in. So that means there's more money on their end that they have to now hire a crew to do the away games as well. So they obviously have to get ownership buy-in on that. But the technology's there, so it's easy to do. So, but let's Go ahead, Ed.
I was gonna, Michelle. Let's talk a little bit about the team. We went through
The team,
a
yeah, the
terrible
team
drought.
play on the field. Yes.
We went through a terrible drought, not winning for so many games. We won against Miami FC barely, and now we've got this away win, which was also barely. What are your thoughts about what Coach Neville has done in the last couple of games?
Well, I think they've definitely turned a corner in the last couple of games. I mean, they've scored. They've scored 4 goals. They didn't score for a long time. So I think the fact that Campana is back and healthy is huge. He missed the first 6 games, and then he came back. And you don't come back from. He hadn't played since October, or I think since October was the last time he played. So you're talking about 6 months, basically, or whatever, without playing a game. That's a long time to ask a soccer player to just step in and all of a sudden be back in top form. Practicing is not the same as playing in a game. So it's taken him a few games to get back to his form. I think last night he looked like the old Leo Campana. The 2 goals that he scored were both well-constructed goals, and he finished, which is the whole thing. I mean, they did create in the last game, in the Houston game, the last league game, they had 20. They had 20 shots, so 20 chances to score, and none of them, not a single one out of 20 went in. This time, they had, I think, 5 or 6 shots, 3 on frame, and 2 of them went in. So the other, I think that the criticism has been harsh, which I understand, but I also have been a sports writer for 35 years, and I tend to be much more patient than a lot of other fans or other journalists, maybe, because I've seen, for example, in the basketball world, I cover college basketball too. Leonard Hamilton was 0-18 in the Big East when he started at the University of Miami. 0-18. Okay, a lot of people wanted him fired. The fans were yelling for him to be fired. And the athletic director, Paul D, stuck with him. He believed in Leonard. He believed in what he was doing. He believed that he was building a culture and starting something good. And a couple of years later, they made the Sweet 16. All right. A few years ago, again with UM basketball, people were calling for Coach Larrañaga's head. They had a couple of bad years with a bunch of injuries and some other circumstances. And people were saying he's too old. The game has passed him by. We need to fire this old man, blah, blah, blah. People had all these coaches they wanted to bring in that they thought would be great. They stuck with Coach L. Coach L has now had the best 2-year run of any school in the entire country out of 300 teams, an Elite Eight last year, followed by a Final Four this year, the first in school history. So in all the sports that I've covered in 35 years, I've seen teams have really bad runs, and they've turned things around. And it doesn't always require a coaching change. Sometimes it just requires tweaking of, the system. I mean, he said at the beginning of the year that it was going to be 2 forwards. It was definitely going to be a 2-forward system with Joseph Martinez and Campana. That was how this team was built for this year. Joseph Martinez has not been able to deliver so far. He came in, was out of shape. He had just become a father. He really did not work out that much in the off season. So he's still kind of working his way back. And it looks like they're back to the 1-forward system with Campana being at the top. And I really liked the way Benja Cramachi played yesterday. I mean, that kid is 18 years old. And for him to go in there and have that head flicker for that assist on the run, so intuitive, without even thinking twice, he flicked that ball right onto the path of Leo's foot and made that goal happen so early in the game. That really gave Inter Miami the momentum and helped them going forward. So I think that's an interesting situation now that Phil is going to be in, because he's got this kid who played very well, but he was replacing Pizarro. You're talking about Pizarro and Joseph Martinez are probably the 2 highest paid players on the team, I believe. I'd have to go through the whole roster, but 2 very, very highly priced players, and neither one of them played a single minute last night, and the team played its best game last night with those 2 guys on the bench. So now he's going to be in a quandary. What do you do going forward? What do you do at the Atlanta game? Overall, I think Phil last year, the way he handled the Gonzalo situation, I mean, I could not criticize that. Gonzalo was out of shape. He was not in a good place emotionally. He said it himself. He said it many times late in the season. He got benched and he didn't want his career to end that way. He really got motivated. He got in really good shape and he came in and had a fantastic second half of the season. I don't think it would have happened if he had not been benched. If he had just been left to play out there and flounder out there, he would have been complaining and waving his arms around at all his teammates the way he did at the first half of the season, which was demoralizing to everybody else. He really turned things around, became a team leader. Everyone got behind him, and they made the playoffs. I mean, they did lose in the first round of the playoffs, but they went from a team that was near the bottom to finishing okay and making the playoffs. So I thought Phil deserved to have another year, which they gave him. He has another year now. And we'll see what he does. It's still early. I'm not an apologist. I'm not a homer. I'm just a realist. And I've been a sports writer for 35 years. I've covered the NFL. I've covered the NBA. I've covered college basketball. I've seen tennis players go up and down. This happens. It's sports. No team is going to win every single game all of the time. Look what's happening in the NBA playoffs right now. Look what Giannis just said the other night, about failure. I think a lot of times fans just don't have any perspective. They give, knee-jerk reactions to if a team does well one game, everyone gets too excited. And if they have a slump, everybody gets too angry. I think we have to have a bigger picture mentality in sports, and we have to be a little bit more patient. That's just me, 35 years covering this. I've seen a lot of ups and downs and everything in the middle.
Patience is one thing, but a 6-game losing streak going in potentially into a 7th, which we all thought was going to happen in Columbus. Let's be honest. It was a surprise win. I mean, his seat is hot. Everybody has to. And there was a question in the chat about, do you think that the ownership was quietly behind the scenes shopping for another coach, looking for alternatives? We had heard about that. I forgot his name right now, but that other coach that had coached in Chicago that's now in Mexico. We all heard about
Totally
that.
false.
That was false rumor, right?
Totally false rumor. I'm not sure.
And look, let's be honest. When I read that, I was like, wait a minute. I looked at his record in MLS. I just keep Phil. It's not a great record. So, but anyways, besides him, do you think they were quietly shopping a little bit? Because not at all. You don't think so?
Too early. They are not shopping. They're not shopping for a new coach right now. They're not.
Okay. Because I would think that, I don't know. I just was wondering if quietly behind the scenes you start checking the pulse of certain things because it's tanking fast, it seemed like. And at the end of the day, some of it is definitely on Phil, but we're still hampered by the fact that we lost Pizarro. We don't have that guy to get the ball to the forwards. And speaking of forwards, a question came in from Esteban Dito saying, Michelle, what is your take on Joseph Martinez? Is he a bust or simply a has-been footballer? Both of his questions are basically the same. Bust. He doesn't like...
Those are both bust or a has-been.
It's the same thing.
That's the same thing. I mean, I would say, I hate to use the word bust, but I would say disappointment. I would say definitely he came in with a lot of fanfare. I was there for that big introduction with all the Venezuelan fans who came out and Venezuelan influencers and Venezuelan singers and actors. Everybody was very excited to get Joseph here. He had his own arepa. I mean, what player has had his own pink arepa?
I heard it was good.
I actually had one of those. So, he came. The idea was definitely that he was going to replace Gonzalo. I mean, they needed somebody. Gonzalo was the scoring machine last year for them, especially when Leo got injured. It was all on Gonzalo, and Gonzalo came through and was scoring all of the goals pretty much for the rest of the season. They needed somebody who was a proven goal scorer in MLS. They they got Joseph, who was, not, he and Atlanta were, that relationship was breaking down. And I think they thought, here's a guy who's going to be upset that Atlanta wants to let him go. He's going to want to come here and prove that he's not a has-been, because I think Atlanta's position, obviously they were willing to let him go. This guy was a MLS MVP just a few years ago, so I think if Atlanta was willing to let him go, they must have thought that, that he wasn't that valuable. Miami felt that he was going to come in and, have a new life,
Tear it up.
resurgence, and he would be very hungry to prove, that he's not a has-been. So far, he hasn't scored. He's a forward. He was brought in to score goals, period. That is your job. When you are a center forward, your job is to score goals. That is all you are paid to do. That's what you're supposed to do. And that's what he did over 100 times for Atlanta. He's one of the most prolific scorers in MLS history. And he has not been able to score with this team. Part of it may have been that the ball wasn't being delivered. I agree that the loss of Pozuelo was a huge loss, because if you remember,
They should have signed him somehow.
Gonzalo pre-Pozuelo and Gonzalo post-Pozuelo is two different. It's like, like BC, like BP and AP after Pozuelo, before Pozuelo. Before Pozuelo came here, Gonzalo was having trouble getting the ball, and he was trying to do too much. He was running all over the place, trying to create and score at the same time, which he couldn't do. The minute Pozuelo came in, everybody noticed it and everybody talked about it. Like, oh my God, the delivery. It's like having a waiter bringing you, the dish on a silver platter. All of a sudden, Gonzalo was getting the ball exactly where he wanted it, exactly in the timing he wanted. That was all on Pozuelo. So when he left, that was really as big a loss as Gonzalo, in my mind. In my opinion, losing Pozuelo and losing Gonzalo was as big a loss, because if he was here, I think that he would have been able to deliver the ball better to Leo, to Joseph Martinez. They've had to experiment now to try to find, is it this guy? Is it Stefanelli? Is it Pizarro? Now is it Benja? They're trying to find that creative midfielder who can really be a playmaker and get the ball to the forward. They're still sort of searching for that, and they had it. They had it with Pozuelo. So the loss of Pozuelo to me is as big as the loss of Gonzalo, and both of those things have contributed to probably Joseph not scoring as much, even though I still think he should have at least one goal in all of these games. He hasn't scored, so he knows it. I'm sure is frustrated and wants to score more than anybody. No one wants to score more than Joseph. It's his job on the line. It's his reputation. I'm sure he wants to score. I know that he wants to score, but so far he's been able to do so. Has not been able to do so.
Yeah, and they need to focus on that in the summer, whether it's the dream of Messi or there's plan B, something. I don't know if Kremoski's the answer. He may be the future answer, but maybe not the answer yet. It's not Pizarro. So they definitely need to address that somehow in the summer. Let's finish on this one phone call. This call is going to take us back to the Miami FC game, but it ends very nicely. So we thought you should hear it.
Mi gente, familia, hey, it's your boy Yankee. When I called last Sunday, I said that this week had the potential to being so crucial to the future of this season for your club and most definitely for your head coach. That Open Cup match with Miami FC, it had it all. It had the drama. It had Miami FC punching above their weight. It had them depleted, leaving everything that they could on the field. They came up just short. I told you guys I expected a good shift from Salazar. I expected a good shift from Telfer. I didn't expect for Telfer to basically choke on that penalty, but that's the way football is sometimes. Big shout out to the Miami FC fans for the fight that you put up, and mad shout out to Christian Sorto, Maryland-born, Silver Spring, Maryland, came up through DC United Academy, played for Loudoun United. He just turned McVay inside out. But at the end of the night, it was Inter Miami, and you guys got it done. Borgelin, that guy is a good guy to be able to have in your toolkit, no doubt about it. And the fact that you got up there, it doesn't have to be pretty. You just have to advance. Then to turn that around, to go face the crew, end up getting the result, being able to find the back of the net, it seems like the team might be finding itself. Lastly, but not least, mad shout out to the guest. I'm so looking forward to hearing Ms. Kaufman talking about a lady who doesn't break the glass ceiling. She just kicks them in. Loved her work from afar for so many years. Y'all take care. Holler at you later, players.
And that comes from Yankee Boy. He's a guy's following South Florida sports from Virginia. So he's
Wow.
definitely a big supporter of the lower level of soccer and very, very well educated on that. Very
That
kind
wasn't-
words.
I mean, I will say the Miami FC, Anthony Poulos, we talked to him after, he was gutted because it was the second year in a row that Miami FC truly took, they they took it down to the wire both years with Inter Miami. And as he, in his words, 2 years in a row, we let them off the hook again. They had them. They had Miami last year. Campana didn't even score until the 83rd minute to win that game. And then this game, it was so close. Those two goals, Borgelin's goal to force overtime, and then Ryan Saylor, of all people, a defender, to come in there and score in the closing seconds there to force the PKs. I mean, Miami FC did a great job. They had it was a depleted roster. They had only 14 players total. Everybody, they had a lot of injuries. And for them to come out and play like they did, it was a record crowd, 12,000 something, which was a record crowd for a Miami FC game. A lot of those fans were Inter Miami fans, but a lot of them were Miami FC also. It was a wonderful atmosphere. It was a wonderful event, as it was last year. It's a great derby. It's a great matchup. And it scares the living crap out of Inter Miami every year because they have nothing to gain. They
Right.
have everything to lose. That's the thing in these type of tournaments. The same with like the NCAA. That's why I love March Madness. A one and done tournament. The same with the U.S. Open Cup. The little teams sometimes beat the big teams. And, I know a lot of people were complaining about Inter Miami and how they played and whatever. But I look at the DC United, they barely won their game. And some of the other, they also, I think, went down to the wire and almost lost to a lower level team. And I think it was 3 MLS teams did not advance. I think it was 3 that lost to the lower level teams. So, in this type of a tournament, just like the FAUs of the world and the Fairleigh Dickinsons and those type of teams, the Peacocks of St. Peter's or whatever last year, that's why I love those kind of tournaments because the smaller teams, they're playing their best game. This is their Super Bowl. This is like a huge game for them to play against. They're playing against teams that overlooked them. They're playing against coaches who didn't select them to be on their roster and clubs that didn't pick them. And so they have something to prove. And a lot of these USL teams prove that they're very, very close to MLS level. And a lot of those players end up after these US Open Cup games, they get signed. They get signed by the MLS teams because it's like, whoa, this guy is right here in our backyard and he gave us fits. We need to sign that guy. So I think it's a great thing, the US Open Cup. I wish it got more attention than it does. I love those kind of tournaments. It breeds great competition. It's not the prettiest game always, but it's survive and advance. It's survive and advance. That's it. You just have to survive. You don't have to look pretty. You have to survive and advance to the next round, which Inter Miami did. It was not pretty, but they did it, and they showed a lot of grit. They showed courage at the end, and they made all 5 of their PKs. They made the 5 PKs, and at the end, that's what you had to do to advance, and they did.
Yeah, and that game proved one thing, that you have to watch the Open Cup. The Open Cup doesn't get the attention it should get. It's one of my favorite tournaments. I love it, especially being a supporter of the lower levels for so many years because that's what we had. after the Fusion died, and even before the Fusion. I grew up going to see the Winn-Dixie Fort Lauderdale Strikers and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I'm deep in the lower levels. So I love the U.S. Open Cup. It does not get the attention it deserves. In a game like that, I mean, it just draws the spotlights, and that just shows you why we should all be paying attention to it. Next up for Inter Miami is Charleston Battery, who I used to see them play the Fort Lauderdale Strikers and Miami FC all the time back in the pre-NASL days. And I think, I don't remember, did they make the move to NASL? I think they did. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. But Michelle, thanks so much for your time. Everybody can follow Michelle at Kauf Sports and read everything you do at the Miami Herald. Is there anything else, anything coming that people should be excited about?
No, I mean, there's a lot of soccer coming up now. I mean, we've got, there's the U.S. Open Cup. The Gold Cup is coming. The Gold Cup is really fun at Drive Pink Stadium. A lot of good, interesting teams that are going to have big local fan bases from the Caribbean and Latin America that are going to be here, including the Cuban team, by the way. So it's going to be interesting. How many will
defect?
Huh? Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
How many will defect? Somebody will, always.
Somebody. But anyway, there's a lot of MLS games coming up, U.S. Open Cup coming up, Gold Cup coming up. There's so much happening. So soccer fans there's going to be a lot to watch and a lot to read about. So thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it, and for all the years. And, it's been fun watching this market go. I hope that this works out. I really do, because I hope the stadium thing works out. I hope the team can turn around somehow, because obviously it's more fun for the fans when the team is winning.
Sure.
Fans here have been very, very supportive, even through these droughts. And I know the droughts are hard. And like I said, I'm not a softie. I'm not an apologist. I'm not a homer. I just, I don't know. I've just seen a lot of ups and downs. So I'm going to wait. To me, the jury's still out. Let's wait and see what happens, by the summer. And who knows? Maybe Leo Messi is going to be wearing a pink shirt in July or August. Can you imagine?
Maybe.
Cannot even
crossing
imagine.
our fingers.
And the circulation for Miami Herald will go through the roof on those stories that you'll be writing.
Oh yeah, my page views will skyrocket.
Go.
I'll get to probably travel to every game. All of a sudden they're going to find to send me to every game. So we'll see what happens. It certainly is fun to speculate and to talk about it.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Follow her at Kauf Sports. Thanks, Michelle. As always, appreciate everything you do for how long that you've done it. And we'll talk to you again in the future.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Night. Thanks, Michelle.
All right.
All right. Wow. I didn't want to say anything because, I just want her to keep talking, If it was up to me, we could have talked the whole hour. Maybe
I know.
more.
We kept her longer than we said we would. We told her 20, 30 minutes. We kept her for almost 45. But she has, well thought out, good, long, well thought out comments and things like that. So, there's so many more questions I wanted to ask, but just didn't feel like we had time to do it.
We'll have to have her on again,
exactly.
Hopefully sometime in the near future. But Peter, let's start talking about. You went to that game. You made a vlog on for the Miami FC game. You almost had to wear that shirt.
Almost had to wear this shirt because of our friend up there in Toronto said we should wear Inter Miami shirts if we lose, and I was thinking I might have to wear this. And having said that, it's a nice looking shirt. Come on now.
It is. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Come on now. Let's go. Where is this? Where am I going? Here, so you can see the full screen. Look at that. Look at that shirt. This is a couple years old. This is the shirt.
I just gotta say, I gotta say, Michelle just sent us a message. Thanks for having me. I will now have a pastelito, she said.
There you go.
Very
I felt bad. I switched one of the camera angles, and it was not a good angle. It was, and I was like, whoops, how do I switch it quick, fast?
I saw that. I noticed that. And people were actually pretty nice. They didn't put many, no comments on that. But
I screwed up there for a second because there is a third view that I don't use very often, and I accidentally clicked on it.
It happens, Peter Brown, and it didn't have her name on it, so I noticed that.
I know it had somebody else's name, so I quickly removed the name, and then when I removed the name, I go, whoa, remove the whole thing.
Yeah, just get rid of this sucker. But so what were your thoughts about that game, Peter Brown?
It was exciting, and if you haven't watched, I did a game day vlog, and I did get some nice compliments on that vlog, so thanks to everybody that watched it.
A lot of views, too.
Those videos do tend to do well. So that just says we need to do more of them. But at the same time, I think part of the reason they do well is if I did one every game, it's too much.
Right.
But every on occasions, I think I will probably do a game day vlog at the next U.S. Open Cup against Charleston. That'll probably make sense as well to do that again.
Playing over here. Yeah, they're going to be playing over here. And
right.
When there's games during the week, I got to work. I have a late schedule, so...
Yeah,
by the time I can't get out to the stadium, but Peter Brown's always there. He lives by, Dry Pink Stadium, so that's.
I don't live that close anymore, but it's not that far. But having driving down to Miami though, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna in a few years I'm gonna be having to do this a lot, But because it took me over an hour to get there, and it's traffic. Because distance-wise, it's only probably a 45-minute drive.
Right.
But there was traffic. And this was, a weekday game. So, I'm driving at exactly the time that, 6 o'clock, when 5, 6 o'clock when there's hard traffic. So that sucked. And I'm not the only one that had to deal with that traffic. I don't know if you heard, Ed, but the Inter-Miami bus broke down. And
I saw, yeah.
All the individual players had to hop in their individual cars and drive down and like kind of carpool down to Miami. So, and they got there just in time to do their warm-ups. So it was a little bit tight. It reminded me of the days, bus is breaking down. You think, oh God, this is a Mickey Mouse team. Why don't they have a second bus, right? But nobody has a second bus, and they don't own the bus. They even rent the bus. But, it reminded me of the days of the Miami FC days when there was a situation where they had to play a game, and I think it was in North Carolina, if I'm not wrong, and they did not arrange for a bus. They were Coach Zinho at the time had to pay for the bus out of his own pocket and try to get reimbursed because the team, and they didn't get a bus. They ended up getting a couple vans because that's what he could rent. And so it reminded me kind of that. It seems like, no matter how much more money in the league there is and how much farther we get, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, there's always things that can go wrong. So, we barely made it by we barely won that game. Yeah, there you go. It was tough as hell. A win is a win, I guess you could say. We advanced in Open Cup.
And that bugs me because there's people in this chat. I think I saw Bruno saying this as well. It's not a win. It's a draw. It's not a win. Shut up. It's a win. We won. Look, let me ask you this. In the World Cup final, if it goes to penalties, do you say that the team that wins the penalties and hoists the trophy is not the winner? You don't say that. You don't say, Argentina, it went to penalties against, I don't know, Germany. I'm making up countries. And it went to penalties and it's a tie. It's not a real championship. You don't say that. If you move on, you won.
Messi won the world championship that way. So, you can't take that away from him.
Yeah. I mean, it's stupid. Like David Kohner said, a win is a win. It's a win. It was an ugly win. It's a win. It was frustrating to watch. I lost hope a number of times. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to pull out that Miami FC shirt, and so it was not pretty. And I said that.
Talk about Messi. He lost. They lost today. PSG lost today.
Did they?
They sure did. 3-1 against who is it? Lorient, I think is the name of the team. Go figure.
I like the comments that are coming in. One said, exactly, Bruno, shut up. And then some people just want to stay miserable.
Oh, man.
And Bruno comes around saying, let's win the next round at home and I'll be happy. But according to Bruno, if it's a tie and it goes to penalties, it's not good enough.
Yeah. Well, I actually didn't think we would win against Columbus, Peter. I was like,
No.
Debbie Downer.
No, me too.
It just, they hadn't lost at home, so it just didn't look good, man. And when I saw the lineup, I saw that Benjamin, how do you say his last name? Kremansh?
I don't know. You tell me how you say it, then.
Well, that's good enough. Benjamin, I saw him line up.
Let's stop right there. It's not Benjamin either.
It is not Benjamin? Not Benjamin?
That's not what they say, at least. That's not what they call him. That's not what they call him. I'll say that.
Oh, what do you call him? Benji or something?
No. Keep trying.
I don't know. Tell me.
Benha.
Oh, Benjamin.
Benha.
Yes.
They call him Benha Kermaski. And I thought it was Kermashi. Kermaski. Yeah, you were typing the spelling, and it's like, what the heck is that? That's wrong.
Kermashi, whatever. The thing is,
but hang on. Before we go there, literally seconds before Kermaski gets the assist, Ed is sending us a message saying, why are they playing this kid?
I sure did, man. I was definitely Debbie Downer. I didn't think we were going to do good. And I was like, wait a second. They didn't give Duke the opportunity, and they give this kid the opportunity to do it. I was like, I was just like, I totally felt that, the coach did Duke a wrong, not giving him a chance. They make him play Gregory's position.
And what happens?
That's not his position.
What happens for Duke this weekend? What happened with Duke
and
this
then
weekend?
he scored. Yeah, they sent him to another team. He's starting. He's playing at his position. He's doing well. They've won, I think, 2 out of the 3 games that they've played with him in the starting lineup. And Lassiter is also in the starting lineup. So, and they're doing better with Duke in there. So in my eyes, I'm like, oh man, they screwed this one up. And now
it would have been nice to see Duke play in his actual position instead of Neville telling him, "You're never going to be a 10 here."
Right, you're going to have to do with whatever position we give you. And then they put this 18-year-old kid in that position. Of course, he shut me up. Benha shut me up. Thankfully, and I was okay, and I took it. I was like, all right, he's shutting me up. He played. He played pretty decently. Is it enough for a starting position at the next game, Peter?
For Kermaski, I'd say yes. I question more the replacement of Kermaski, and they brought in Ruiz, who I don't think did anything. He's their latest signing. He came up from Inter Miami 2, another academy player. He didn't do anything. I think it would have been better in that point to bring in Pizarro.
Right.
Because you want to hold the ball. Who's better at holding the ball? He doesn't pass it sometimes.
Yeah, nobody's better at holding the ball than him.
He's going to dribble. And at that point, that's kind of what we needed. That's what
we needed.
We had no possession in that game.
I remember I was even mad because Borgelin, towards the end of the game when they brought him in, he could have kept on running with the ball all the way down, the line or whatever, and he decided to pass, and he gave the ball back to Columbus. And I was just like, no. I was like, come on, dude, hold on to that sucker. Keep going to the very end. Hold on as long as you could. But he didn't. And
I really liked Borgelin in the Miami FC game. I thought he showed well. He played very strong. Kind of holding the ball, but he needs someone to run off in them because there was times where he would literally hold the ball and then turn. He made a couple good turns that were pretty impressive, but a lot of time he lost the ball as well. But so it would have been good to have him, play off somebody. But I think there's promise with Borgelin as well.
Yeah. I'd like to see Borgelin and Campana play, both of them as the forwards because we'd have 2 guys that could be good at heading the ball in. Campana obviously he's good at that, and that was something that we really didn't have when Joseph was starting. But we'll see what it looks like at the next game.
I was asked to show the number 786-474-4435 if you want to give us a call. And then I'm getting called out by Roberto saying Peter is in love with Pizarro. Really?
Well, no, I have to agree with Peter, because if you needed to hold on to the ball, that was the player to bring in. He was definitely going to hold on to the ball. So, there's no argument there. Is he better than Benha? I don't know. I guess that's to be seen. Benha had his first good game.
Well, let's say this. I mean, of course, we can't give the kid all these trophies and awards for one good half of a game, because really that's what it was. He had a good half. The second half, I thought he dropped off. He drifted. He was a little more invisible, but he had a good half. So we can't, let's see how he does over time. But right. I think you asked the question about Atlanta. I think he has earned another opportunity. I don't recall a Pizarro assist lately. I don't know. I don't recall one. So I would say you could start him. But I was just saying I would prefer Pizarro over Ruiz. He just came on the team. To me, that is Neville making a statement to his stars. He is saying, I don't care how much money you make. I'm going with youth because you guys are not delivering, and I'm going to you guys for that. Where most people think, Neville himself needs to get punished. But anyways.
Yeah. Well, Michelle was saying something about, she wasn't as, adamant as everybody else to get rid of Coach Neville. She definitely said she's seen it before, where people go through droughts like this. He went through one last year similar to this one.
Yes, he did.
And he was able to come out of the hole, and,
but the way he
do with Pozuelo.
The way he came out of the hole was Pozuelo.
Yeah. And that's, the player that we're definitely missing. I think the team would have been so much different if he was still here. He's in Turkey right now, doing somewhat decent. He scored a goal I saw this weekend. So, he was the man of the match, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So, he's playing well and probably getting paid what we weren't going to give him. So,
all right, we got another voicemail. I think we got one coming from Atlanta.
It's time for your voicemail.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, Peter, Uncle Ed? This is a new Wiseman here speaking. Yeah, it's great. It was a great win for you guys last night against Columbus, but now, this Saturday, it's the our first matchup. I hope the best team wins. I know that we didn't do well against Nashville, but, we're going to get healthy. We get back soon, and it'd be great to see Joseph Martinez playing against his old team. Thank you. Toodles.
All right. Yep. That's going to be Atlanta is a better team this year than they were last year. That is going to be another tough game. I know we haven't really talked much about that game coming up, but at this point, I don't know what we're going to see from Inter Miami against Atlanta. Because it's not like we could sit here and say the Columbus Crew game was a great game. If it wasn't for Calendar and Miller as well, I think had a great game. I think what's his name? Our Ukrainian guy, Christoph. Yeah, Christoph I think played well as well. But if it wasn't for we were under attack. My wife came in to watch a few minutes of the game. She's like, "Oh my God, this is ugly." It's like. And she's like, "How long has it been like this?" I'm like, "Oh, the whole game."
All game.
The whole game.
It's the whole game. Oh my God, Peter, that was like nuts. My wife saw it too with me for a little bit, and she was just like, "They're gonna lose." She just stood up and she left.
Yeah.
And at the end of the game, she was happy because wow, you guys, we actually won. She was surprised.
Yeah.
Happy,
not only Richard Greenberg was surprised too.
Oh yeah. My family's definitely happy. We're Ecuadorian, so when Campana scores, we're happy. So,
all right,
that's a good thing. But so yeah, Peter Brown, I'm looking forward to our next game against Atlanta. Hopefully, you get to come down here.
Come on down.
Go ahead and give us a shout out, and we'll meet up with you, or at least I'll meet up with you.
I'll tell you this, Anu Weissman, you come down. I'll give you 2 tickets. because unfortunately, I am going to miss the game. It sounds like I'm going to miss the game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Peter has not missed a game since the start of
Inter
Miami. So that is like a huge, that was a record that he was hoping he was going to hold on to, but there's something bigger than Inter Miami in Peter Brown's life.
All things must come to an end.
It's not his wife.
No, she's not going.
Oh.
She's not going.
Wow.
Just me and my daughter. Yeah, I've always, it's no shocker that I love Disney, and I haven't had an annual pass in several years, and they started to sell annual passes, and I have other family members that want to go, so we want to make a bigger family trip. So it looks like I will be going to see the mouse and hanging out there in Disney.
Mickey
pissing off Ron DeSantis.
Mickey Mouse. Yeah, Mickey's bigger in Peter's life than Inter Miami. That's the truth.
Well,
that's the truth.
If you look in my closet, I would disagree. I have a few Disney shirts,
Yeah.
but I got a whole rack of Inter Miami gear.
I'm with Carter on that comment right there.
Well, I'm one of those people that get criticized. They call them Disney adults, and people laugh at that. They criticize that, what have you. I'm one of them.
But don't you worry, kids. Uncle Ed will be here. Peter might not even make it back for the show, so I don't know if he's going to be on the road back or not.
I'll be driving home probably at midnight. I will be in Epcot on Sunday.
Oh, look at that. He'll be
doing a little food, a little wine.
But don't you worry, kids. Uncle Ed will be here with you in English. Which, by the way, reminds me, tomorrow we're going to be doing the Spanish show at 9 p.m.-ish. As soon as I get out of work, I will go live en español, en tu idioma. So we're going to be talking about all this en español with one of you guys. If you guys want to be on the show with me in Spanish, hablas español? Leave a comment, and I will invite you. I'm always talking to different people, fans, supporters group, whoever wants to talk to me. We will talk about the game. And, see, people are just going at Peter Brown. Look at that. Look at that. So join me tomorrow, guys.
And just if you make fun of me that I won't put it up on the screen, I will.
So, yeah, look at that.
Disney is ruining Star Wars. I'm mad at that. No, they're not. No, they're not. If you didn't have Disney, there would be no Star Wars. George Lucas was done. All right. Anyways, everybody, thanks so much for watching. You guys are awesome. If it's not for you, this is no fun, right? So thanks to everybody that comes and sits with us on every Sunday, and we appreciate it. So thanks so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you. Well, Ed will see you tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow in Espanol.